All right, hello everyone. Today we're going to be going over vampires, werewolves, and zombies with Father Eric, my pastor, from our parish. And so, if you are interested in talking about these topics with a priest, which I was surprised, here we are.
Okay.
Did you want to? Was there a reason you wanted to talk about these three particular topics?
Just because different.
Just different. Okay.
These are part of our two important novels. That have a lot of elements, even though they weren't written by Catholics. They have a lot of, like most novels written around the time, the 19th century, a lot of elements of Catholicism in them. Like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Bram Stoker's Dracula. Not that we only have to, we're not just talking about those, but
yeah, we can talk about St. Patrick too, and the
Yeah.
werewolves.
I mean, Dracula is kind of an obvious, maybe obvious to people. He's a being that can't come out into God's light. He can only come out when he's not in the light of God before the sun. He survives, although he's dead. He survives only on taking life from others, which is the opposite of Christ, who gives his life for others. He's just like Satan. He uses seduction. You always see women are seduced easily by him.
Twilight series.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't read any of that, but
I didn't either.
Anything like that is nonsense. Like there's the whole concept of vampire is never to be something that is neutral or good.
Right.
I mean, it is evil. It's supposed to be evil.
So my daughters used to watch this Disney show where it starred a vampire family, and they made it really cute,
of course,
because it's Disney. But it's like the whole thing. I'm like, none of this makes sense. Like, it's really morbid for a kid show. That she starts in a coffin.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get Memento Mori, but like, I think that's taking it too far.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. And in the beginning of this, yeah, but it was wrong because it was like, it was.
One thing
it was.
I forgot to suggest to you.
What?
About your channel, you might want to read people's comments before you respond to them.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case if somebody's listening and they're working on something, or I forgot to tell you that, so there you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You may want to read their comments before you answer them.
I do read them.
I know, but out loud.
Out loud. Yeah. Because
So
sometimes,
sometimes I might watch your thing. I might be doing something else too. Like I'm like, oops, I wasn't looking at that moment. So I didn't know.
No. That's my bad. Thanks for letting me know on air.
You're welcome. It's not. Shouldn't be embarrassing. It's just a reminder.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
And it's okay if it's embarrassing. I'll humble you.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's a virtue. It's completely fine. But yeah, so like you have Dracula, and it's really weird when you think about it, because Dracula, you have like you were talking about, Van Helsing has the Eucharist, and the Eucharist it's like they set up that the Eucharist is directly opposed to Dracula.
Yeah.
And so the fact that there's a clear spiritual dimension that has been utterly dropped in the mythos of vampires. Like, it used to be
like Twilight. Did it even have anything that has to do with crosses or holy water or anything?
So anybody who had the stomach to read or watch Twilight, can you put us in the comment section on like if there were any crosses or anything holy that affected vampires?
I've seen like some movies where there'll be like some vampire will be like, oh, that doesn't do anything. Like if there's like a cross, I'm like, no, that's completely opposite, of the whole origin of the mythos. from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Of course, there's legends and such of vampires before that, but
Have you ever heard of Castlevania?
the video game,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they made a live version of it in Castlevania.
Oh yeah.
But
Never seen it.
You don't want to. You'll probably get really mad. Like because what they do is they explain, and John was explaining this to me, that when the reason why vampires are weak to their crosses it has nothing to do with Catholicism, has nothing to do with Christianity at all. It's because the angle at which they come at the vampire confuses them. And so they try to make it super scientific to the point of like, this sounds stupid. Like your whole thing is that you are like holy avengers. Like that's the thing. Like you carry holy things and beat vampires with them. And you're muscular. Like that's your whole thing. Like it's just
vampires. If the concept, and I don't mean the people who drink blood and real people who like drink blood or human blood.
Are we talking about pagans? Do you want to go down?
People actually just call themselves as vampires. So I'm not talking about those people who drink enough blood to try to hallucinate, which apparently that can happen. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the mythical vampires. They're definitely free game to kill. I mean, they're already dead. Yeah, they're already dead. Well,
okay, so you're actually walking through.
Okay, anything that's trying to murder you is already free game.
So you're walking through the ethics of the legitimacy of
like I have a friend
murdering a vampire, but it's completely okay because they are
dead. They're already
dead. So okay, I just want to make sure.
And apparently, they're animated by evil. Apparently, they're only animated by evil. As long as you're not abusing the body, which is God's creation. As long as you're not unnecessarily, abusing that. I mean, the odd thing is it's a little like zombies, a little bit. Not the same, but reanimating a dead body. But like a friend of mine, it's funny. He always say, he doesn't practice his faith yet, but he would say, he gets very angry about anything about like people he finds about saying that they're vampires, and he's like, well, if that's true, then my purpose would be to stop you, to destroy you. Actually, a vampire.
Yeah, and it does kind of take a weird, because like I mean, what Mandy's saying, there's people that think they need to consume human blood to survive here and now walking around. Like
those are the real people that are messed up.
Those are and this goes back to Mark, where it's like I think those people who drink blood are just mentally ill, and they may be mentally ill.
Well, they may not be,
but they may it may at first
later.
because
if it is human blood, which I'm sure not many of them actually do, but it's a form of cannibalism.
Oh, it absolutely is.
That always causes mental problems.
And that's and so like the demonic in a very real sense, and Father Martins kind of goes into this, where like just because it's a mental illness doesn't necessarily mean
Father Carlos Martins of the Exorcist Files.
Yep, of the Exorcist. Yeah, sorry, I'm assuming too much of so he explains in the Exorcist Files, like you could have a mental illness, it still could be a demon.
Yeah, which is even more confusing.
Yeah, which just makes the diagnosis more confusing, but that doesn't mean it can't happen or it hasn't happened. And so, I think a lot of people will say, well, that's in psychology's realm, or that's in just to go a little bit off tangent here with, but like with vampires and people who claim to be vampires.
That took me a second to realize both of you are in the same room.
Yeah,
it does kind of, because I'm a little further back.
Yeah, and there is a divide. Yeah, so I actually, thank you for pointing that out.
See?
Oh yeah! Oh man!
Whoa! But yeah,
we're drinking water, by the way.
The whole thing of the whole thing of like the movie Blade. I'm all about him stopping them. Oh, it's a little weird that I don't think that would make sense.
Wesley Snipes?
I don't think I mean, the whole concept of being half vampire is, insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, because
it sounds like Nephilim.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
I get so tired of people.
You don't want to talk about it? Okay. All right. We're not talking about
TikTok videos of definitely.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, they're not what you think it is. Like because all these people have no faith and stuff. They just jump on it and make up all this weird stuff. But anyway, not to get on that because
I'm going to send you a Orthodox, Lord of Spirits.
From Eastern Orthodox, or you mean?
Yeah, it's from Eastern Orthodox. They explain they have like a 3-hour thing explaining where they get their reasoning from the Nephilim.
Oh,
that's why I brought out that he'd be a Nephilim, which is why he's super strong. And what's he do? He's between both worlds.
Yeah.
Just like the Nephilim.
Oh.
So it's like he's but he's not bad. Like he's a good guy.
And your wife says you're getting questions.
Let's slap him. Hey, you're getting questions, yo, from a regular Hey Zoomer. Okay, I don't see a Zoom. Oh, Zoomer. Oh, no. My bad. Papist Zoomer. Hey, Father Eric, are diocesan priests like yourself allowed to say private mass according to the 1962 rubrics? Oh, wow. So we're just going right there.
I don't see why you can't.
For a private mass?
There's nothing that says that you can't. There's no restriction on it.
Okay, so it's only public masses.
Yeah, there's nothing at all that says that you can't.
Okay.
And if there's nothing that says that you can't, and when it comes to church law, that means you can.
That means you can't. Okay.
There's no assumptions in church law. It's all on purpose. It's all purposeful.
Right.
Or it should be, at least.
So there you go, Papist Zoomer.
Back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned something about Van Helsing and the Eucharist. If you've read Bram Stoker's Dracula,
I'm gonna hold it up.
There's a part of it where these are the ones when I originally read them. These are the ones I read. And when I was in college, when I started getting into reading novels, that was before my reconversion. But Dostoevsky is what really helped push me.
Oh, really?
To reconversion. Well, I had the girl I was dating asking me to tell her about the faith, and I was like, okay, I guess I got to figure this out, And but anyway, in there, Van Helsing, from what I remember, he claims that he's allowed to carry the Eucharist with him, as a layman, which would be very unlikely at that time, especially unless you're bringing the Eucharist to somebody, or like Saint Tarcisius, or who's saving the Eucharist from others. But Bram Stoker uses the Eucharist like a weapon. That's definitely not what the church would want us to do.
Right.
Because even in exorcisms, they don't use the Eucharist, like in an exorcism. The most they would do is they have them in a chapel. Or the person has received the Eucharist, I think recently.
Father, not to...
I'll say it.
Well, yeah. So Father Ripperger's definitely stated that he uses the...
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in fact, he has a famous statement.
I've just never seen it before.
Yeah, and he has a famous statement where he says the Eucharist...
You gotta be very careful to make sure there's no risk.
Yes, and he and Father Martins both say something to that effect, but it's Father Ripperger says this, what I think to be a famous line, which is the Eucharist of the Novus Ordo is just as potent as the Eucharist of the TLM.
That's good.
And he says that exactly because, even though he gets invited to all the, let's just say rad trads, that they that's kind of like the silver lining is that he's not really a rad trad. So Father Ripperger is a fairly, he's a Chad. So whatever that means. Okay.
Young people terminology.
Yeah.
No, but in the book, Van Helsing uses the Eucharist to protect themselves by surrounding themselves with the Eucharist. From what I recall, this is when they're in Transylvania. I think he surrounds them with the Eucharist, on the ground, which you definitely would not do.
Right.
But in the book is not written by a Catholic, but it definitely attests the fact that, Dracula can't touch them when they're surrounded by the Eucharist.
Right.
Is the point, that's the main point.
Here's what G. Sanchez says. Pretty good book. Stoker, however, must be forgiven for his superficial theology. He did write it in good faith, from my understanding. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah. Because, think of it what is it from a standpoint of like the Japanese? They will make amazing Catholic explanations like within their story. Like
Yeah, there was some
And-
anime.
but
in
they
high school,
will-
my friend showed me it was Van Helsing.
okay, I wouldn't.
Well, there were
I
some things
wouldn't-
that were
I
pretty
def-
accurate.
Yes, but like the church is the enemy in that show.
Oh,
So
well, see, I don't remember.
yeah, so it's but there are some others where it's like they make priests and nuns look like really cool,
It's interesting.
and it's like really superficial, but it's a very dynamic way of like showing the faith, because to them it is a dynamic thing for them, right? Like the Western religion, which is mostly
Yeah, there's
Catholicism,
very few Catholic churches in Japan too. You know,
right? Because of the bombs. So just clarifying that, because
well, I hadn't,
Nagasaki and
I hadn't been down there, but in the other areas,
well, right,
there'd
but,
be even more down there. But
right, because Nagasaki and
Hiroshima.
and yeah, those were the center places of Catholic faith in the country.
Yeah, a little off track.
I know, totally off track, but
While
that's
we're
just-
talking about the serious topic of Frankenstein's monster,
hey,
and
Hayes,
Dracula.
Hayes is from he just drive home after mass, so he's in Tomorrowland, okay, because he's in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm trying to
Thanks,
find
Hayes.
that one passage about what he does. Well, if I can find it with the Eucharist.
you're the second person I've heard pronounce it Ripperger and not Ripperger.
I think it's Ripperger. Yeah.
I think it is Ripperger. Well, I have a Midwest accent, so I can pronounce things at the end of words that other accents, well, Midwest accent. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm the only one that can do this, but Midwest accents will have a better time saying the ending of words or names. So super technical and off topic, but that's, I think, the reason why. So thank you.
So here, the part where that is not right. I was trying to find the part where Van Helsing uses the Eucharist.
Oh, like you're
just
actually
around
trying to...
him, but that's actually he says he'll sterilize the soil because Dracula uses soil from his home area. We actually have a parishioner who's from Transylvania.
Really?
Yeah, he's Romanian, but he's Hungarian. You know, like
Yeah.
because there's a lot of Hungarians in that area. But anyway, so you talk about sterilizing because in the novel he brings the earth with him, from his castle to Carfax Abbey. I believe it's Carfax Abbey, or Carfax at least in England, because he needs that soil to survive. It's kind of like he's imprisoned by it, basically.
Because he can't like step off it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, you can step off it, but I mean, his power, is
What? Let's see.
What?
While you're let's see. Thank you for your answers to this paper simmer. To follow up, how could you potentially broaden the definition of a private mass? I think a private mass is by definition only the
there's
priest.
no other human creatures.
It is
there.
literally just the priest. Can there be a good amount of people present? I don't.
No.
No.
It's not a private mass.
Yeah. At that point, it's a public mass.
I mean,
Um,
you have to be. You don't want to stretch things too much because then God's not going to ignore the fact that you're trying to stretch something to fit a definition.
Yep.
That is-
Like that is the I get where you're like I understand papist. You're probably
Trying to find a
you're
way
trying
to go to the old mass.
no. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to see what the limits are, and I think that's a completely appropriate if that's what you're looking for, like
Unless
the
it's like a
limit,
server, maybe like maybe that's the extent. There's like a server,
right? Like, but like,
one server.
but even the server. Okay, well, I'm just gonna whatever you say, like not in a dismissive way, but like I have no idea, so it's.
All I know is you don't want to. The goal is not to try to stretch things that are kind of obvious that you're stretching it.
So I hope that answers your question, Papist.
No offense to the Sicilians, but that's a very Sicilian thing. Just try to stretch things a little bit to their limits.
Let's see. Maybe yes, but a lot of whatever. I'm not gonna. how people say things can be like mathematically derived.
Corrected by his wife.
So yeah, if you leave the window open, it can still be private.
I was talking about Dracula because
I know, but
you have to invite Dracula in for him to come in, if the window's open.
All right,
so a big thing. What
right.
was your big irritation with Frankenstein you mentioned earlier?
Oh yeah, so like we're gonna try to transition and stay on topic while also doing Q&A. So we're kind of gonna go both back and forth. So there's a few people that I see. That's just gonna be the layout of what we do. So my biggest problem with Frankenstein, I use Frankenstein's monster, and people will refer to that as Frankenstein. And it is the biggest annoyance that I have. When
Frankenstein's monster? It's Dr. Frankenstein is actually Frankenstein? I'd like to say myself.
No.
I'm correcting it.
Well, right.
Not you, but I mean what people say.
Well, right, and it's really annoying because we have, it's like the mythos of the mythos of the mythos.
Frankenstein.
Where he's German, by the way, so like he can say it, I'm sure. But it's the born German.
Yeah,
not from Germany. But the like, so for Dracula, for Frankenstein, like there's this watering down to then propagate and consume in mass. So, and you're absolutely correct. No, Swishmill, you're absolutely correct.
I was just going to say that before.
Oh, you were?
Dr. Frankenstein is the most disturbing character in the entire book, more than the monster.
Right, because like as a statistician, so like as a scientist myself, like you have to be careful, like not to play God.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because that's essentially what he's doing.
When he regrets what he did, he tries to snuff them out.
Because
he feels bad about all these people that he's taken out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he goes to the Arctic to try to stop him, from what I remember. But he doesn't make it, of course. The monster continues.
Oh, really? I haven't read the whole book, so I'm.
Oh, come on!
I mean, I can borrow the book. You brought the books to my house, so I can
have to write a note that you borrowed it. I try to write a note anytime somebody borrows a book because I haven't gotten some back before.
So let's do. Furthermore, to go to that idea, could a priest traveling with a group to, say, Ireland say mass as they travel the island, which it still sounds like it's not a private mass.
That's definitely not a private.
So, and then
private mass is the priest.
Yep,
maybe a server.
So it's So definition private mass. I'm just going to make it very plain based off what Father Eric just said. The maybe a server and the priest, usually a priest. All right, so then one would be considered not if it's someone like. If
there's even, I don't know if there is in the old rite, but in the new rite, there's even a certain part in the missal that is set for when the priest is saying mass in private.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, there's no one there.
Yeah, there's no one there.
The angels and saints. Yeah.
Just the angels and saints, gentlemen and ladies.
I don't know. I don't think the old rite has that provision. I'm not sure. I think the old rite presumes, or at least, it's not wrong to celebrate mass without a server, but even a private mass, I think it's kind of hoping for that.
Gotcha. So Van Helsing definitely was my favorite character in the book. A true man of science knows that there's limits to reason that requires space. And that's exactly what you said before
Well, that was the thing I read you that I don't like AI. But I use Grok.
You should have just asked.
I use Elon Musk Grok just to remind myself of some of the names. And I said, find me Catholic elements. Because I wanted to see what it would say. And it points that exactly out, the balance between faith and reason you see in Van Helsing. It says how this is a Catholic, a very Catholic view, which I was impressed with. Some of them are kind of lame, like the advantage of community and stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a very specific question, and I'm going to Scholasticus Since this is about the occult, have
Kind of
either
the
of you
occult.
read Augustine Calmet's treatise on the occult? If so, what are your takes on
I'm
it?
looking around this arm thing.
I know. So like, if we're like doing this, it's because I have an arm like that you can't see, but it's
holding the camera.
It's holding the camera. It's where I
It
get
looks
the
like one
different
of
angles.
those old desk lamp things.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
looks like an old
with the
desk lamp.
springs on it.
Yep, except it has a camera on top of it. So that's the technical difficulty we
I
have.
have not.
You have not? Okay. So we are.
Sounds interesting though.
It does sound interesting. So
Hey, I wonder if
this
this the
will.
one I'm thinking of. Let me look it up.
All right, you will look it up. I will look at the next one.
Is it like a very simple publisher?
Yes, the same thing we inspired. Exactly. The same thing that inspired Jurassic Park somewhat about man playing God. Yeah, that is. And I love Jurassic Park. It was like my first adult movie as a kid.
Is it Calumet or I'm thinking of the city in
It's
town in Michigan.
Calmet.
Oh, okay.
Augustine Calmet's.
Calumet. Okay.
Yeah.
Calumet.
Let's see. Could Franken. Ooh. This is a question. Could Frankenstein's monster be baptized? I think it's a legitimate question.
No, I say no because I don't know.
So I guess it would have to depend.
I'm trying to remember if it has a reason.
Yeah, because that's the defining principle.
I think it does have the ability to reason.
And if it has the ability to reason, it can be baptized.
Yeah, it's like cloning somebody, which, it's not as exciting as people think. Cloning is just you clone them in embryo form, and then
and then
they grow, to an adult.
Very slow.
Just like God doesn't like you doing it, but He's not going to refuse a rational soul. It's just like in mass. If it's illicit, God still shows up, but He's angry. Like as one priest said, if it's invalid, He just doesn't show up. But if you create a human, if you bring about the ability, I'm pretty sure it was definitely irrational. So you would say you'd have to say if it is rational.
It can't, but it would
now.
have to.
Imitation is not rational. Like AI is not rational. It is not an individual.
So for those of you just joining, the question is on the thing on the screen. Could Frankenstein's monster be baptized? Given it has some rationality to it, if it decided to be baptized and the priest thought it was fitting, yes, he could. Right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, if it seems to have the ability to reason, yes, you could.
Yeah. So
assuming that it wants to be.
And now we're getting into AI.
It's beyond the age of reason.
And now we're getting into AI, which I think parallels this very well.
I don't want it to absorb all of the conversation.
Oh no! But like you bring up, you bring up.
Or AI is not.
Yeah, you bring
rational. If you have something that looks like a human, sounds like a human, but isn't a human, it's not rational.
Yep.
If it's AI, it's not rational. AI just tricks you.
Data from
to sound like it is.
Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation is not a rational soul.
No.
Like he's just numbers going up and down a thing that looks like a person.
It's just like tricking you, like a trans creature will try to trick you. Like if somebody looks like a woman and it's a man, and they say, "Oh, you thought I was a woman." Like, no, that's no accomplishment. You just tricked me.
Yep.
I know. I shouldn't say that. It's not.
It's creature.
I shouldn't say it that way, But sorry about that. But
oh man, here's a question from Hayes. From Tomorrowland, if a priest leaves the priesthood and gets married, can he receive communion? This happened to my sponsor when I came into the church.
If Rome dispenses him of his, of his promise to celibacy, he can receive communion if the Vatican dispenses him of the state. Not if he just leaves and then seeks no release from his promises. Now, even then, though, a priest is never supposed to have any position in a church if he leaves priesthood. Like, he can't volunteer in a church. He can't.
Really?
Because of the chance of scandal because it's a reminder to them that whatever the reason was that he abandoned them, even if he was kicked out, like it wasn't his choice. Yeah, even then he can't volunteer like in a parish or in a capacity, in the church. I mean, an apostolate. I don't know. I don't know if that really qualifies.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's to avoid scandal, because if somebody sees him and says, "Hey, weren't you Father so and so?" They've already caused the problem.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Of course, he can receive the sacraments as long as he was dispensed. Otherwise, he'd be living, in sin.
So he says Scholasticus says he was an 18th century French Benedictine abbot.
Oh wow,
Augustine Camlet.
Oh, that's great.
So I am definitely going to look him up afterwards.
I gave up on that one. I was trying to.
You gave up? Yeah, no. We're talking about a bunch of things. So please, we don't have. So, you can ask specific questions, but if we don't know them, for example, a particular abbot at a particular time in history, please forgive us if we do not answer the questions now. We do have all the information at our fingertips, but we cannot
most of the time
digest it right now.
Most of the times it comes out as The Phantom World is one of his books.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to see. There's one that I have his publisher that has the occult, then it has clairvoyant. It's like a Catholic publisher, but everything's just yellow. It's just yellow covers. Very simple. I'm trying to figure out if that's the one I have.
So I just want to emphasize this with you. With Papist Zoomer, he is very active in where he lives in trying to bring a very reverent mass. Me and him have talked.
Okay, both of those things, you do not need permission.
Yeah. So I just want to say the reason why he keeps asking these questions.
But
yeah,
that doesn't mean it'll be easy.
Yeah, it depends on where you live and who's got sway in the.
Doesn't mean it'll be easy. The Ad Orientem thing is in a document from the Congregation for Divine Worship from the year 2000, I think. One in the spring and one in the fall, where a bishop, I think it was actually the Bishop of Birmingham, Alabama, because of EWTN, I think is why he was asking here. He was asking if he could restrict Ad Orientem. And the result was that Vatican, the Congregation for Divine Worship, said a bishop cannot legislate either way, and the church has no preference, whether Ad Orientem or versus Populum.
Yep.
And it says and a bishop cannot legislate, either way. And then later on, there's some other interpretation where, in the general instruction of the Roman Missal for the Mass, there's a point in there where it says, I can't remember the exact language, but it says something along the lines of, that when the altar is placed in a church, that where possible it should be freestanding. Something about the priest being able to face the people, but people wrongly attribute one of the statements to the priest facing the people.
Yeah, it's
to
mistranslated
the altar, to where the altar is. And that is cleared up too, and it says it's not referring to the direction of the priest; it's referring to the altar.
Right.
So, but it will depend on the priest and his bishop and how difficult his life might be made, by trying to do so, because it might be so much so that it may not be worth it.
So you sound like you have some personal experience with this.
I won't say much.
I know. But in the sense of the Ad Orientem happens at our parish, and we have Latin for the ordinaries. So
yeah, well, I mean, especially Latin. I mean, I feel like the archdiocese, when the Pope restricted the old Mass more, the archdiocese made sure people knew, like you can do the Novus Ordo, and it's completely in Latin if you want, just to remind people that it is not. It's actually Sacrosanctum Concilium in Vatican II actually says, Latin is to be preserved, and Pope Benedict had said that there should be, Latin in the Mass. They don't say exactly how much, but he said it's reasonable that the people know how the ordinaries, at least, like the Agnus Dei, the Sanctus, to be able to know those at least. So they don't need, and you could always go by the route of it's a different language for being inclusive by using Latin.
Yeah, super inclusive, guys.
Or being multicultural.
Yeah. A bit off topic, but is that a statue of Bishop Sheen in the background there? Yes, that is Venerable Fulton Sheen. I have a video devoted to the miracle that.
I have a piece of one. Of
Whoa,
his...
let me.
No, you'll like this.
No, let me finish. Just let me finish it.
You'll like this.
I know.
Just
Like,
give
let
me a
me
hard
finish.
time.
So, like, but I did a video devoted to the scientific aspect, clinical trials, like steelman the argument for the claims made for the miracle of Bishop Fulton Sheen that is being used, and I say is because it's the check mark that's for his miracle, for his beatification. Because he originally had a beatification date because literally everything was checked. Pope Francis was, I think, going to do it. He was either going to do it or they were going to do it in Peoria. I don't remember. And then something happened with a New York diocese, and now we're in limbo with him. And so hopefully that gets clarified soon, and the process can continue. I have a feeling that when we have a new Archbishop of New York, that will happen. That's
a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's when that
we
will
don't know everything.
Even though it's not the Archbishop of New York, that was the one that claimed the problem.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's probably what's gonna happen.
I got a piece of one of his choir cassocks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you hold on to that. That could be a second class relic.
Why it is a second class relic. Yeah, I mean.
When he because he's
Now I wonder if anybody has a piece of Blessed Carlo Acuti's Xbox.
Oh, or Pokemon.
Assuming
cards.
he had touched maybe the hand controller.
What about his Pokemon?
I don't know
cards?
how much he touched of the Xbox itself.
What about his Pokemon?
They
cards?
would be second class.
They would be second class.
They're regularly used. I mean, you could get like. You could get it. I don't mean to be irreverent. Can I get the Z? Can I get the Z from?
Can I get the Z from his keyboard? Oh my gosh.
Oh, I did find out from the secretary in the Office for Divine Worship in the Archdiocese. She told me she'll let me know that they might get I think the diocese might be obtaining on loan a couple pieces of Carlo Acuti's hair. And she'll let me know, to be able for the relic, of his hair.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that they'll be letting parishes know in the Archdiocese.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah, and she'll let me know about, Blessed Solanus Casey, because his relic that travels too. Because we haven't had that yet at our parish.
Yeah, so both Swoosh and Mark say it has the ability to reason.
Yeah, it grows over time like a child.
Yep, and then
if it can reason, you have to.
There's Hayes.
Presume.
Yep. And then it is not an action figure. I do not.
Awesome.
It
doesn't have moving arms.
It doesn't have moving arms, man. So it can't.
Or lasers from his eyes.
Oh, here's a question. Would it be sinful? We will get back to Frankenstein in a second. Would it be sinful to watch a sports event on a website that is streaming it without permission?
I would say yeah.
Yeah, because if you know that you should be paying for it.
Remember when Napster was around?
Oh my gosh, yes I do.
And I had
we're old.
And I had those CDs, and my friend had put stuff on. I got rid of those CDs once I came back to my faith. I probably shouldn't keep this because they were stolen.
Oh man, yeah.
Technically, because they were from online.
And then, do you have any advice as a priest for how laymen should approach a priest seeking more reverence in the Mass?
Oof.
So just to clarify, so for this question, I do. So as a priest, that could be its entire video. I have a video that as a layperson on, let's just say the other end, that is devoted to that question, but obviously not as a priest. So it's the
best thing is suggestions or questions or coming with questions, just seeking, like Father, I just, I know about this. Did you know about this? Or I don't know, showing your excitement about it. about something rather than just like, Father, why don't you do this? That's the worst way.
Oh yeah.
That's the worst way to approach a priest, because I hate that too. Why don't you do this? Or like, why do you do this? And like, well, that's not correct, first of all. But if it is something correct, you're not going to change their complete attitude on how they approach things. You should pray for them first, but I mean, when you approach them, it's better to come with honestly with your excitement about it. I remember Ryan had asked me, before we had kneelers out, he had asked me if I could put a kneeler out.
See, I told you that is exactly what I didn't even prep this, guys. I didn't even prep this. That's what I say.
And at that time, nobody would receive kneeling on the tongue except for Ryan.
No, you said an old lady too at the 6 p.m. or the 4 p.m.
That was before COVID.
Okay.
BC. Yeah, like that after COVID. After COVID, it pulled out a lot of the stops because it was easier to, because a lot of the right people weren't there. But
it's hard. It's hard as a priest to change.
It's hard as a person, to change. But like I was definitely not opposed to it. That's going to make a difference right there already. Like I had no problem with somebody kneeling, like to receive communion, which some priests have like almost like a demonic response to it. But I told Ryan, I was like, I don't know if I want to put a kneeler out for one person, and then I was just like, just do it, so we had like the single kneeler, and then I just told people like, well, some people like to kneel, and somebody like, oh, Father, that's so nice of you.
It's so nice,
to accommodate people. And I'm like, and then we put out the bigger one, more people were starting to do it. And then once we hit COVID, after that, a lot of people started to know about the parish because all the confessions, which we were asked to do. And then we built 4 more large kneelers, which is an altar rail.
Yeah, they're set up in such a way that they're now that you would.
So the best way is to approach with your excitement and your legitimate need.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's going to see you as a child of God.
Or he should.
I mean, especially if you can almost tell him about something, maybe even first, and not even ask him to do something yet, just to start to expose him to like more traditional things. If he doesn't seem to understand it, but has a good heart.
Yeah. Like for me, before I asked him, he knew that I was already receiving on the tongue.
Yeah, I had no problem.
So I was already going there and practicing it. And so
not just receiving the tongue, but kneeling.
Well, yeah, kneeling too. And so I was already that guy. And so frankly, you're going to still meet priests that do not like when people kneel. And that is up to you, because that can be distressing.
Your choice.
That can be distressing if you have options like we do, like in the Archdiocese of Detroit, where there's a church every mile down the road. And so I can just go to another parish, and I did that for 9 months before I ended up going to St. Basil.
But boys, are becoming more common. That priests are putting kneelers out, let me tell you.
Yeah, and that's great.
There's priests I know when I was at a gathering, how many more put out kneelers and stuff. Either try to encourage it themselves or people ask them.
So I'm going to stop this for a second and just say, please share this video for that comment alone. I know we're talking about Frankenstein, vampires, and zombies. All right. But we're doing this Q&A in between. And that particular point is something that I think a lot of people need to hear, because you have a lot of people who kind of, they come down on the idea that, well, you can't make the Novus Ordo more reverent. There's there's some conservative priests, but
well, I got news for you.
Yeah.
Most of those diocesan priests, most don't even have an option. They have to do the Novus Ordo. That's the only thing they can do. So they're going to try to make it as reverent as they can.
Right.
They can't just go to another church like lay people can.
Right.
So you learn, you learn, how many options you have. And you do have a lot.
All right. So thank you, Livermore.
Let's get to something weirder again.
All right. I'll go in. I'll be looking at the chat. So we are.
What about zombies?
Zombies.
There is actually an actual thing called a zombie where.
Are you talking about voodoo?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, through voodoo. So Where they do it again?
They perform a ritual on a man. Like usually it's a man.
But it's some plant they use or some
Yeah.
chemical.
Yeah, they and they treat it like, I think they treat it like an
But it's like a
incense.
slave.
Yep.
Yeah, and they just like do work for them basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and they do actually have like very little free will. Yeah.
Yep. Their free will is limited.
Yeah.
Like
so we're not talking about that kind of zombie, which is a real thing.
right.
We're
But
talking about the concept of most, although that's a very similar thing in terms of something that doesn't move on its own. And although a zombie in what we're talking about, the context is a person who has died.
yep.
And probably some parasite or something, or
The T virus, guys. It's
some
Resident Evil.
nanotechnology, that has overtaken the body again, and keeps it going. Of course, you can kill a zombie as much as you want because it's a dead body.
Yeah.
You don't want to like overdo the mutilation because it's still a human body, but obviously you have to stop it. And this whole concept, which is, I think, a real thing. Like I think it's more realistic that you have some of these zombie movies and shows, which I've seen a good amount. Where some people are delusional and they think that they're still there, that the person's there, and that they just need to keep them, corralled until, and then keep them corralled until they think they'll be healed from a disease. But they're already dead. They've already died, and then But you definitely cannot. You definitely, if somebody gets infected by a zombie, you definitely can't kill that person in anticipation. You must wait until they actually die before you would actually.
So this is very interesting
them.
because, like, I do think this is something that may be an issue.
This has to do with end of life issues.
Yep. I know we're like, some people will be like, well, what's a priest talking about like zombies for?
I don't care.
Like practical. Like
I'm going to talk about it.
Well, no, but it's the idea. So like it's like Resident Evil, for example. Like growing up, that was like my zombie exposure. I love the Resident.
Mine was more Walking Dead kind of stuff.
Well, right, but like Resident Evil, the games.
I know what you're talking about.
Not the movies. I didn't like the movies. The movies sucked compared to the games, and so the games were very much like, well, this is a biochemical weapon that we're using people, and we're making them stronger, and we're making them more durable, or whatever. And then obviously,
that's almost always the case.
Yep, and then
ends up turning this like I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yep.
Same
concept, and
they heal cancer, but it isn't.
Right.
Hubris.
Right. And so you end up creating these zombies that, or these, if they don't have reason, because in I Am Legend they show that they do have reason.
That's even more complicated.
Yeah, and so they
I don't know if they have reason. They have instinct. So I don't know. That's the point, though. They don't want you to know whether or not they have and remember, an animal can have anger. I don't know if an animal knows. It knows it's defending its child.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be a father and his daughter, right?
Either a father and his daughter, or a husband and wife.
Yeah, but
in the
that
book,
doesn't even show rationality.
In the book,
however, setting up a complex trap. Yeah.
So the movie makes it more mysterious in the book. The book, I Am Legend, is a crazy person to the society that has transformed from that cure, and they are in fact rational thinking people.
Wow.
And so he ends up becoming the monster in the areas that he's killing people.
Now, to make things clear again, anybody who's trying to kill you has forfeited their life.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what they are. If they're trying to kill you and you have to stop them, it doesn't matter if they're rational or not. But going out and exterminating is a different matter. Like exterminating, the concept of a vampire, yes, that's legitimate. But not in this case, maybe. Like if it's because there's so many different kinds of zombies.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Walking Dead zombies; those are not rational.
Yeah. They have to die to get to that point.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole mythos there. And with what is it? The zombies that you were talking about, or voodoo. Like you can do that to them because they're actual slaves.
They're huge victims.
Yeah, they're slaves to the voodoo.
Need people to protect them because they're slaves.
Right, and like we're so like just if you didn't know this, like Catholicism doesn't outright, like, I wouldn't say reject magic as an idea.
Well, I mean the reality.
Like it's the reality of it being like
Catholicism doesn't say that there's no such thing as curses, because there is.
Right. And so like when you see something like voodoo using like whatever they do to then get a zombie, and
you mean they're using
it's demonic. Like,
well, I mean, even though what they're in that case, they're not using like a curse strictly, they are using an actual physical like chemical.
Yeah, but it's also part of the ritual that they do. So it's not like it's isolated.
But I believe there's other things they do that aren't really scientifically explained.
Absolutely,
that Satan like steps in and
absolutely, and
counterfeits.
That's and so like that's like this idea that you can't be cursed is like a very like I don't know, like it's something that I definitely read from time to time on different Facebook feeds.
There's a lot of context, but I saw the question about if a private individual has a relic that lost
the paperwork,
how would someone go about getting the paperwork? There is a way to get the paperwork.
That's a great question.
Bishops, I know there's a priest in the diocese that can search for the paperwork. Like they look at like the seal, the wax seal in which bishop it came from, because very traditionally the bishop would put his seal with his ring into the wax. And then they probably develop like more of a stamp. And he can research it and find if it's legitimate, because it could be fake, too. So there is a way you can ask the best way is probably to ask your diocese, like if there's somebody that can find out for them. Because I know someplace had a relic authenticated by one of our regional bishops. He had gotten a relic authenticated. And it just requires research and
So this question, how persistent should we be in trying to reform our local parishes, even if we are able to habitually attend a reverent liturgy in another parish?
I'd say as far as you think the Lord wants you to.
Would you say like if it's
good to be loyal, because if you might be one of the only people to change anything. Now on a different scale, I would say if somebody's asking the level of parishes, Novus Ordo parishes, as opposed to just giving up and going to Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter or Institute of Christ the King, the High Priest, that one I'd say stick out a lot more, because if you don't,
nobody else will.
The vast majority of Catholics may not change much, or there might be priests that won't have anybody to help them support what they're doing. If everybody just goes to the old rite like only places, which I get it. But I'd say ultimately it's how much in an individual parish. I'd say it depends on how much you sense the Lord wants you to. Remember, our goal in life is not to avoid suffering at all costs, which is, unfortunate, but that's not our goal. Our goal is not to have everything exactly how we want it. And that's sometimes what happens is people just want everything exactly how if I had everything exactly how I want it, I would already be doing other things at the parish that I don't think it's ready for.
Yeah.
Like, and that is not,
and that's
not our goal primarily in life, is to get everything exactly how we want it. Like we want to help bring about the most good. Like, don't make the perfect the enemy of the good.
Right.
It's like people like with voting, like, well, Trump isn't 100% pro-life. Like, no, but like, so you wanted to wait until somebody who's 100%, because then otherwise you're not going to bring about any good.
Right. And just to make sure that people don't misunderstand what you're saying, just to put it in a different way, like he's not talking about generally speaking, right? Like he's talking about the extremities. Like if you notice, like you're missing the incense and you really want the incense.
Incense is always optional.
Right. But like, but if someone's like, I really want that incense, but everything else is great. Latin, ad orientem, altar rails, altar boys only, like that's the one thing that you get hung up
If
on.
someone's gonna
Like,
make the step of having only altar boys, are probably gonna have incense. But
well, right. But like what I'm getting at though is it's the extremity of like you don't want to be
what is
like
this?
what?
I'm in a house with children. That's probably. I don't know what that is.
Okay, we'll look at it after. But like it's so like that's the point that I'm making is like, all right, well, so they don't have incense. Okay, great. Like that sucks, but everything else they do great. Like you said, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, because you've got 95% of what you want, or 90% of what you want. And as much as we would like all the parishes to follow the germ and not do like stupid practices that seem to trivialize what the germ has in it, like we can't control other human beings.
Let's go back to the topic.
Yeah, let's go back to
werewolves.
Or werewolves. Oh,
werewolves, I know the least amount.
Okay.
So let's get a summary here. I mean, I know.
Let's go to Grok.
Well, like I said, I caved in. I use AI just for things that don't matter, for things that aren't important. Plus, I'd rather have Elon Musk develop this than ChatGPT or the stupid Chinese one, which is hilarious, because anything you mention about Tiananmen Square or anything gets blocked automatically.
Yep.
And most stuff with China is all like a facade. Okay, so just a reminder with werewolves, the concept of a werewolf, obviously this is very difficult because it's somebody who is still there. They have not died. They are cursed.
Yep.
So they are definitely not, I guess it would be probably a good analogy to possession, because most people who are possessed are not in the state at all times. They're not in the trance state, as it's usually called. So obviously you can't just snuff out somebody. However, if they're killing a lot of people and you got to stop them, the problem is at that point, like I said before, if they're trying to murder people, then it doesn't matter. They have to be stopped. So just a reminder about werewolves. In folklore, werewolves are humans who transform into wolves or wolf-like creatures, typically under the influence of a full moon. The transformation often results from a curse, magical intervention, or being bitten by another werewolf. The werewolf myth spans across different cultures, but usually has, they transform. It's usually painful and involuntary. They don't choose to do it when it happens. They don't have control over it for the most part, in most of the stories. Some have a little bit of control, but usually no. They usually live a cursed existence, a dual life. They don't always remember things that they've done, which is interesting. That's close to possession too. They don't usually remember when they're in the state of possession, in the trance state. Of course, there's a lot of violence. It almost always leads to them killing somebody without them even intending to, or maybe they kill somebody they don't even like a little bit. Then they end up killing them when they're in that transformed state. And you have to wonder, I don't know how many situations where you could say a werewolf chose to be a werewolf. Unlike, certain, it's similar with vampires, but other than Dracula himself, a lot of people in these cases don't choose it to do it. But nevertheless, they have to be stopped. So whatever the reason is, and even if it wasn't their choice, you have to stop them.
Yeah.
You can't just let it continue to happen if you have good enough evidence to know that this is what's happening. And we're not talking about Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox.
Oh my gosh.
I won't mention the name because it's got crudeness to it, but it's hilarious. There's something called Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter. I bet nobody will be able to find it, but I mean, it's like ridiculous taking on it, but the whole idea is, it's somebody who, I don't think there's any doubt, with the concept of a werewolf, this is not somebody who really has control for the most part at all. Now, I haven't seen all the I'm sure Twilight has werewolves in it or something too, right?
Yes.
Of course. Like, do they sparkle too?
No, they just like
Whatever that means.
yeah.
Why does a vampire sparkle? I don't understand that. It sounds
Okay, so I only know that because like growing up, Twilight was
kind of
towards the end of my high school, so you just had a whole bunch of girls talk about it. So that you learn about it.
Disgusting creature that wants to take my life
And seduce me and trap
really
me and
disgusting. And
yeah. So, but then there's like St. Patrick with werewolves, where there's a group of people who were cursed for blaspheming. And
I think that's where also the legend came, where sometimes werewolves or people were blasphemers or
yeah. And so we have and when you listen to the Exorcist files, Father Martins talks about a time where a guy transformed in the middle of an exorcism.
I didn't hear that episode yet.
You haven't?
No.
Oh man, there's actually 2 episodes that talk about this where there's a transformation.
These must not be the dramatized one. This must be.
No, it's part of the drama. Like
maybe it's just
it's one of the explanations within the dramatized.
Oh, it's probably the other half of the most recent one I haven't heard yet.
Yeah, so like he explains how they transform.
He's
He's
a really
like
strong guy.
That I don't know. It's not the most recent one, but it's
weird.
like
I would have heard it anyway.
So like he talks about how they transform, but that's an illusion from the devil.
Of course.
That they don't actually transform. They look like they transform. They have the appearance.
Yeah,
but they are like and he describes several different types of animals in which people transform into, and not just their face, but their entire body looks like that of like a cat or something. Or a large cat.
Are evil.
No, but it's like that's a pretty intense thing to talk about.
Oh no, I did remember that. No, that's not at all actually what we're talking about, though.
Well, right.
I'm just saying, can appear as anything,
right?
Which a lot of these things could be the devil appearing, as things.
Yep.
Not to mention aliens. That's possible too.
Oh, I absolutely.
Abductions.
Okay. So like aliens.
Government. The government could be the devil.
So I'm gonna say with aliens, because we've talked about this a little bit. Well, we had a video talking about it a little bit, but we
did, yeah.
Aliens. I am very open to the possibility that aliens are not extraterrestrials in the sense that we understand
Flat Earth.
No. But like, but like in the sense that
I'm just trolling there a little.
No. But
yeah, because they would definitely not believe in aliens.
But it's the idea that they are demons.
Yeah,
because as a scientist, I have an issue with. All right, like unless they developed a incredibly sophisticated way to not enact any sense of G-force at all, or their body is made of
why are they crashing if they're so advanced?
Oh my gosh, that's not even the point. But and
if they're coming here, I hate to break it to people, they're not coming here to be nice. They're coming here to take over.
But it's when people see like something go this way and that way, like super fast. It's like the G-force. The G-force. So like you have.
They'll say it's anti-gravity.
They'll say that's the thing. That's that. If we're gonna let's talk about Dragon Ball Z. All right, let's talk about 100 times Earth's gravity within a starship.
Is that what that's supposed to be? Dragon Ball Z?
So no, there's a point in which Goku
what is this Dragon Ball Z?
Really, you don't know Dragon
Ball Z? Will you denounce the Dragon Ball Z? Will you denounce the onesies? No, just seeing that thing with Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Recently, it's on my mind.
But no, Dragon the whole point of all right. There's this one part where in Dragon Ball Z, Goku, the main character, is training at 100 times Earth's gravity to get stronger.
Cool.
It's like when people bring up anti-gravity field within a ship. There's like a sense of that where it's like, okay, well, like that's not going to count for everything. You can have anti-gravity, but you're still going 5,000 miles an hour, like, or or like that's lowballing it.
That
Like
wouldn't
the
be fast
speed.
enough
No, yeah, the
to
speed.
travel from galaxy to galaxy.
Well, exactly, and that's the other thing is like if you're traveling at the speed of light, how are you not liquid? Or
And that's not even fast enough. You have to travel beyond the speed of light to be able to
exactly,
travel the way people. That's why they have warp speed.
or warp gates,
But it has to
or
be black holes. That'd be the only way to do it. Wormholes.
that's what Star Trek says.
Yeah, they tend to like put a little more thought into
They do.
their godless.
No,
concept.
Star Trek is actually Deep Space Nine was
that
incredibly
is different. But I mean, the original guy, he's not the most. But then they brought religion in later, which is cool.
Yep. So that's AI, or I'm sorry, not AI. Aliens is definitely something for me that is like it can go either way. It can be a bunch of things, and I'm not
saying there couldn't be rational aliens. I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mean, we have seen like bacteria, and like moons, like but that's a pretty far stretch from a rational being. People are like, how can there not be anything else? Why does there have to be? Does that make us even more special?
Yeah, and there's a
but
lot.
There could be, but they would also need to be saved.
Although I don't think
the church doesn't say that there can't be, because the church never rules out something that is not impossible.
And you know what? If there was something, we just treat them like Native Americans.
Yeah, that's what I've told people. Like
it's just the same dynamic.
The new world
global
is not much different from like another galaxy in terms of today.
Yeah.
The new world, like some people don't even know it existed. Like there's barely there was some concept, of course. Because why else would they even bother? Going to seek it, looking for a route.
But you know what? Like, here's the other thing, and I think just to bring that back home, when Pentecost happened, all right, going to a completely different country that had no Jews and just Gentiles was the same thing as going to Native American North America.
Oh, yeah.
The exact same thing. And we pretend like that's some sort of like revelation. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, they're so far away. And it's like, how could they know Jesus? And it's like the exact same way as people in Gaul knew Jesus after Pentecost. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, it's whatever. It's just.
It's a matter if you can reach somebody.
Yeah.
They didn't know about him for so long until somebody finally brought Jesus to them.
Right. And they did it in Latin.
Well, they did learn the language.
Well, they did. Yeah, they did learn the language. But in Mackinac, so in Michigan, if you're not familiar, in Michigan, Mackinac, you have a tent. I believe it's still standing of when, what is it? Father Marquette did a Latin mass. He did a Latin mass in there. And it's like, okay, so like if Native Americans can learn Latin mass, what's our problem now? Like, why is it such a big deal? And it's kind of like really weird to me. So that's just my angle. That's just my angle. That's not Father Eric's angle. But it's something that I think gets lost, is that how we came to these people. It wasn't like we did try to learn their language, but we also but they were also like we respected them enough for them to explain why we do things in Latin.
Well, plus it helps emphasize how different it is too.
Yep.
Because it's not even the language that they hear them speaking with each other.
Right.
Yeah. And they're probably speaking Spanish or French, with each other, or Portuguese.
And they probably thought it was mystical.
Yeah, so wow, this isn't even the language that they talk to each other in.
Yeah. Let's see.
So we don't need to talk about skinwalkers, and you know what that is.
I do know what skinwalkers are. What about lizard people?
Oh, reptilians?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. You've seen those clips where they're like, oh look, it's a reptilian eye. It's like, no.
Was it Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, where it's like, I think that was just low quality like film, or if it was film, or low quality broadcast. That stuff is like it's very different from this stuff in certain ways. I mean, yeah, skinwalkers are legends, but just like a werewolf is a legend. But do you believe that there could actually be vampires in the way that's? I don't, but okay. I guess we're boring that way,
I mean, yeah,
because I know it's an analogy, and
Yeah,
I know Satan's much worse. Although at least with, well, no, you can control vampires in a certain sense too. I think that's part of the point too, is they're slaves pretty much to God's law.
who is? I'm sorry.
Vampires.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's the other thing is you get.
Well, everything is, like a werewolf can die a certain specific way. The silver bullet.
Yeah.
Well, Frankenstein's monster, I don't really know.
Just blow him up with a grenade.
Yeah. Oh. But like.
What about Wendigos? Mark's bringing up Wendigos.
Yeah, that's another. Like Skinwalker and Wendigos, aren't they similar?
I don't know. Let me look. Let me use the Googles.
No, I believe a Wendigo in Native American lore is like a person that was a cannibal, isn't it? And that they were like punished for being a cannibal.
Half man, half deer creatures with the taste of human flesh.
Yeah, taste of human flesh.
Are associated with winter and are said to be a symbol of selfishness.
Speaking of that, Bigfoot, I don't believe Bigfoot is real. And the reason why? Nothing that big could sustain a population. And accounts, like I've seen like accounts of people talking about Bigfoot where it's amazing how similar the accounts are. They're all terrified. They don't, and yeah, I know there are.
I mean, if it's a giant hairy man,
no. I mean, even before they see it at first, I know there's some like, I don't know what it's called. Like it's some kind of like with sound where you can like almost paralyze like a prey animal, like just with like a certain like level of sound that you use that some predators use. But like most of these people talk about them, they're like they're terrified for like it's beyond like just a fear. It's like almost paralyzed with fear. You never hear about them actually coming into their houses. They always pound on the outside of their houses. They never come in. Their smell is like, it's not just some smell of disgusting animal that's always dirty. I mean, it was like so offensive that, all I think of is just the presence of evil. We don't have bones. We don't have.
Yeah. Yeah,
we don't have.
There's no.
We don't have. It would be interesting if they're real. Like I like how Jimmy Akin, says like it would be the coolest thing if it was real, but I don't think it is. Yeah. Like the Bigfoot. Like it's just hard. How do you sustain? How are they so elusive? And then some people say, well, they're interdimensional beings. Like, which is it? Are they just dumb, hairy animals, or are they interdimensional beings, or they're just like, oops, I guess I'm in another dimension, And
so here's Mandy's take. Bigfoot is a demon. Got it.
It could be that.
Well, because
that's what I'm saying.
So like you have a case. All right. So like you have
paralyzing fear, the absolute unbearable smell. I mean, I smell the mustiness of animals. Some of them are more disgusting than others. Like Tasmanian devils are one of the most worst smelling animals on earth, or something.
Well, right. So like you have an example of the footage, right? Like the footage from like the 60s or something.
That was debunked.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
No, it wasn't. I'm not even kidding you. It has never been debunked.
The one where he's like this and
no, but they're walking.
Yeah,
but it's like yes, that has never been debunked.
I thought I saw something where they showed somebody recreate it, where they're able to do it.
I mean, you can recreate a lot of things. That doesn't mean it's not.
Doesn't that mean you can debunk?
That's not debunking it, because that would be like, okay, well, I can recreate giving someone sight. So every miracle beforehand of giving someone sight must not be a miracle. Like that doesn't follow. So like the debunking would be, this is fake footage. That's a person in a suit. And this is where we would tell where the suit is.
Let's see, that's good too. How would Bigfoot be so elusive as to be able to evade detection by the U.S. government? Well, the government's
in on it, obviously.
Well, no, I think people give too much credit to the government. The government screws up on all kinds of things.
Well, it's because it's like you get
Because ultimately, nobody has absolute power in this world.
Well, absolutely, yeah. But like what I'm getting at is a demon purposely allowing itself to be videotaped to then discuss and have people literally waste their lives
Could be
trying to find a distraction.
Just for the sake of a distraction, yeah.
Yeah, like because like I don't think that's out of the realm. Like demons are very, I know you know this, but it's just like demons are very smart. They're almost eternal beings.
Well, they are, and
they haven't.
Just like our soul is eternal.
But, well, they're everlasting.
It's not eternal as
so they're
existed before, but
so they're everlasting. They're not eternal like God, right?
Yeah,
so like that's what I'm saying.
They were created at a moment in time.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Not in I hate the word how eternal is being used in like
eternal
everything.
Usually means that I would say you always existed.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, right.
Which only God is.
Right. And so excuse me. But it's like but the so like having a demon be captured and then people just waste their lives. I think that's a perfect distraction.
Yeah. I mean, I think people can be distracted by things that are much more destructive than that, but demons will take what they can get usually.
Yeah. Well, people were going out to the northern woods of Canada to try and find this creature.
No, there's a certain level where I don't think that's wrong if you like spend your vacation time because you just want to like pretend you're finding something. I went camping with my friend and he's like telling everyone we're gonna go find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're gonna go camping. Like and we were pretty obscure area, like this part of the Upper Peninsula that's where a lot of logging is, and you have to drive miles before you even have a signal. So you better believe I had protection with me with guns. Like one for
gotta emphasize that
one for a human and one for a bear.
Oh, really?
Magnum for the bear, and a 44. I mean that was a 44, and then like the 45 for a human.
Okay.
Because you're not going to call the police. There's no signal. There's no even the SOS thing. Anyway, but my friend claims that he heard a howl of a Bigfoot. At like 2 a.m. And I was like, no. But just because I know how unlikely it is, it would be cool. And people are constantly discovering species that we thought were extinct and still exist. However, those species tend to all be smaller than humans. So it's a little more reasonable to expect that there are species that we thought didn't exist, like in Papua New Guinea, which is one of the hardest places to get around them. And then we find out they still exist. But a Bigfoot in North America, not easy to hide. And we have a lot of open areas, but
right.
I just don't believe it can be that elusive.
And
that's why you get the interdimensional being as an argument.
Well, right, because
okay,
if you can't, if you can't find it,
if it's an interdimensional being, it's just not. It's like then we're not talking about a natural occurring being here,
right?
So we're talking about something completely different.
Sorry, I'm just looking at
it. I think what is amazing though, and all the things we're talking about, the power of the human imagination is incredible. Between what's on your mind, lack of light, certain things. When you're a kid, you constantly think you're seeing monsters,
right?
And your imagination is very strong. Now, some kids are also more susceptible to demonic attack in certain ways, in terms of that they're innocent and open, but most of the things kids imagine aren't real, so we should
need to
remember
get closer to the microphone. You're doing too soft. There's a comment. Thank you, Forrest Fairy.
Most of the so most of the kids have a lot of imagination, and vast majority of things they imagine aren't real. That's very important to remember. It doesn't mean they're always going to be wrong all the time. they might be more sensitive to what's around them that we don't always detect. Just like, animals are not 100% accurate about everything, but they tend to be able to detect evil, but they're not always consistent, from what you hear from people.
Right.
It's supposedly only when God wants you to pay attention to them.
Did you knock out the sound?
What?
Can you guys hear us? Because somebody's saying, can you guys hear us? I need to know this.
Are you
all right.
This priest.
Are you friends with this is my pastor. So
just the way it sounds.
So it's I hear you. Thank you.
It just sounds like
thank you.
It just sounds like a funny way to put it.
I mean, yeah.
Are you friends with this creature?
Are you? Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Is there any other modern boogeyman?
So many.
I know, but like that we can talk about.
The tall man,
what tall man?
Chupacabra. Oh, you don't know enough about.
He said he didn't mean any
lore.
I didn't mean any disrespect. I know Chupacabra.
No, that's why I said it sounds funny.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's why I said it sounds funny, just the way you had put it. Yeah, Chupacabra is not very modern, but
Mexican.
With the tall man, that's a big one. Slender Man.
Oh yeah, I mean they made video games on it.
I mean, there's so many. It's just insane.
But like modern ones that are like recent.
Those are kind of recent.
I mean, Slender Man kind of, but then like
I don't know what other recent ones.
The Flatwoods Monster. No,
so I haven't heard that.
I'm gonna Google it really quickly.
I mean, there's things like the Jersey Devil. That's not new. Or the Rougarou.
I don't even know.
The Rougarou is like a swamp version of a Bigfoot, apparently. You can thank my friend for all these weird things that I know.
Oh my gosh. West Virginia. So this is like close to New York.
A Mothman or something?
No.
That's kind of funny looking.
Is a creature reported to have been sighted in the town of Flatwoods in Braxton County, West Virginia.
It looks like a robot with like an old maid's dress.
I mean, it's probably...
It looks like a robot with an old maid's
dress.
So
it looks like Mothman.
Yeah, that's what I said. But yet, it has an old maid's dress, and its head looks like the shape of one of those Hindu symbols or something.
Yeah. Mothman. Let's look at Mothman.
What's another weird one? There's the Michigan Dogman. That's a big one.
What? Michigan?
Dogman.
St. Christopher?
What? No.
What?
Have you seen talking about?
You don't. Oh, look at this.
Michigan Dogman. There's also the Dogman, the land between the lakes.
St. Christopher, because I had it on a thumbnail of mine, and I'm a dog face.
What does that have to do with?
Because it's Dogman.
Oh,
he's got a dog face.
Creepy.
It is creepy
because his head is actually a dog.
But
there's like it could almost be like heretical or.
It's not
Gnostic.
No.
It just looks Gnostic.
No. This is this is a legitimate Catholic thing.
It just freaks me out.
It does.
Because Saint
Dominic, you guys can't see. Okay,
Saint Dominic has a dog next to him, not a head of a dog.
Right, but
it's the whole Egyptian. That's why it's freaky. It's Egyptian.
But okay, so like just
Michigan Dogman.
So this is what we're looking at.
Drunk
this
Ohio
is like
State
Saint
fans.
Christopher. So this is Saint Christopher.
No, the Michigan Dogman is supposed to be like more than Bigfoot. Dogman in Michigan apparently is the big. I've heard some things where people talk about the Dogman. I think the Dogman is also in Wisconsin or something.
Well, Wisconsin tries to copy us a lot. They try to say that they're a mitten state. They're not a mitten state.
It's because they claim the Upper Peninsula.
Well, they're wrong.
I mean, it is geographically connected to them, but it doesn't mean it's theirs.
Yeah. All right, Michigan Dogman. I've never heard of this, and I've lived here all my life.
Apparently, the drones, the mysterious drones, apparently they were just... Did you hear there? It was apparently just like Trump said it was just like what was it? So it was just government drones, and so it was enthusiasts. Like I don't really understand how that works.
What are we talking about?
Those drones that were around
in
for
New
a long
Jersey
time, that people thought were just a distraction, which they might have been.
Oh, that one guy shot at him,
or maybe not.
Oh no, that was
that was messed up. That the guy got in trouble for shooting down was an Amazon drone or something.
that was over his house.
It's over his
and
house.
and it wouldn't move.
It was over his house.
And it wouldn't move.
What do you expect?
It had, because he had said it was there.
There's Michigan Dog Man. The Dog Man is apparently always a dog. I don't think it's like a werewolf, from what my friends said.
Well, it says a legendary dog-like creature with a human torso that has been reported in Michigan since reported in Michigan
1887.
No, since, which means it's currently being reported.
Oh yeah, of course. If it was then, you better believe it's reported now. Especially once people know about it, then they report it more.
Puma reportings.
Boy, that's not odd. I saw a panther once at Stony Creek Metro Park. When I was in college, I was like, "What the heck was that?" Like I saw
it's just a giant cat.
No, I thought a thick black tail. Like as I was turning, and I was like, and I called it the DNR, and they said, "Oh, thanks for telling us. There is one that's gotten out. Somebody had like a black panther as a pet.
As a pet.
Yeah, and
as a pet.
And they could barely. And my friend, I got stalked by a liger once too. Like somebody, people these weird exotic pets, and they can't feed it.
Well, we had in Sterling Heights, like 4 months ago, we had or not even 4 months ago, an alligator was underneath someone's car because someone kept it as a pet.
That poor thing is trying to stay warm. That's why I was probably under the car.
So let's see. I don't even know what this is. Cryptids are animals.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know what a cryptid is?
No.
Oh my gosh. A cryptid.
You're doing the meme, and it's so funny because you have.
It's not a meme. I'm just
you're doing it
as a kid.
Yeah, you're doing it actually. No, you're doing the actually.
We make fun of a nerd as a kid.
Right, but that's the meme.
Well, the meme is copying off of us.
I know, but that's the meme.
I know there was a meme about that.
So cryptids are animals or other, I believe.
Or supposed creatures that we don't know exist, basically.
There's do not follow the scientific method. Gotcha. Okay.
That's probably a good description. Most people who try to don't follow the scientific method.
I mean, a lot of people don't follow the scientific method.
No. Well, I saw it. I'm like, well, what did you see?
Yeah, I know. Like, we live in Michigan most of our lives.
We have a werewolf.
Yeah. And we basically do have
a dog man.
Oh, whatever. It looks like a werewolf.
No, a dog man is different from a werewolf.
Let's look at the images.
My friend taught me all these things. He doesn't actually, I don't think he actually believes them, but I think he wants to.
I mean, there's a lot of things people want to believe.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it also, what it does is it speaks to
beyond what you can see.
Exactly.
Because there are plenty of things that are real that we don't see.
What happened to my camera?
What are you talking about?
Never mind. All right, never mind. We're fine.
Yeah, there's the dog man. There's the dog man. No, what is that one? Something of Bray Road or something in Wisconsin. I don't remember the name. It's the creature of Bray Road or something like that.
What's the difference between a dog man and a
dog man? Is always in that form. A werewolf transforms.
Okay. Is the dog man rational? Can the dog man be baptized?
I don't know if it's rational. I don't know enough about it to know if it's rational. I don't think Bigfoot is rational either. Because people seem to try to say, I don't know. No,
I think Bigfoot is a scientific...
It seems like the concept of Bigfoot does not seem rational. It seems like it's more like an animal, just like a dumb animal.
Yeah, so like I think Bigfoot scientifically doesn't exist.
Mocking me. What's the difference, Father?
Yeah. I posted that up there. Yeah, how do you know he's always in that?
I don't know. That's what they say.
That's what they say.
That's what the experts say.
What okay, so
the experts is a man with a lazy eye.
Is it Bernie? Is it Bernie?
No. The experts is a man with a lazy eye and spends half of his life on his couch.
It's a domesticated werewolf.
Domesticated form.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like. Now there's some creepy stuff, but raccoons make some creepy noises at night. Coyotes make creepy noises. I'm telling you, like they make some very disturbing noises.
They do.
Those animals.
Well, so
especially when they fight.
So like, I'm very interested to like.
I've not eaten a coyote, but I've eaten a raccoon before.
1 second.
But I will not eat a raccoon again. It's weird.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm just playing with something.
No, don't play with that. That's the whole like just.
I'm not moving it. I'm just
Okay. I'm like, is there a cat underneath here? All right. So when a werewolf gets married,
I think we're nearing the end.
I think we are too. We're getting into silly foolishness.
Well, this whole thing is. I mean, it's not completely silly. But
I mean, yeah, we've had
Dracula is the high brow part of this. And Frankenstein, those are highbrow cryptid. Well, these aren't cryptids; these are monsters.
Yeah, those are monsters. So like,
well, what's the difference?
What circumstances or fasting led you to eat a raccoon?
I like to try different animals.
Have you had a squirrel?
Yeah, one that I shot.
Yeah, one that you shot, and then what?
Not in the suburbs.
What
the
about
raccoon we actually got from Easter Market though?
What about a possum?
You've
had it?
No, that's one thing I'm not sure.
Isn't it one of the ugliest creatures you've ever seen?
It is, but it is an awesome animal because it can't carry rabies.
Yeah, it can't carry rabies.
It eats all kinds of disgusting things. It's disturbing when you run into it. I run them all the time at the parish.
Yes. The answer is yes. Like he's the inversion of the Eucharist. That was the first quarter of
the weirdest thing
I've
eaten was a beaver tail.
Yeah.
Beaver tail is probably the weirdest thing I've eaten.
Really?
Exoticmeatmarket.com. That's where you can find some really interesting animals that you can eat. It's not cheap. But it's like a lot of it's like really weird stuff you can find. But it's safe. I've never gotten sick. Bless you. I've never gotten sick from it or anything.
Huh.
I haven't ordered from them in a while because I've eaten so many different things.
So
I couldn't get the guinea pig though.
But
no, guinea pig from Peru is a traditional dish.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say like there's a lot of extra guinea pigs going around.
Not talking about
I was just gonna say there's a lot of extra guinea pigs going around.
And yes, I will eat rabbits, but I won't eat my pet rabbit.
So capybaras, because they spend so much time. Yeah. So that's for the purposes of Lent and Friday meat.
Yeah, capybaras, if they spend most of their life in the water, the Vatican usually considers that part of, like, in our archdiocese, a muskrat is also legitimate.
Yeah, we have a dispensation for beaver.
Oh, really? I didn't know what archdiocese did for beaver. It's just not as common. You just can't get beaver that easily. But muskrat, definitely. But that would be a huge penance.
So for people who are like scientifically inclined and they're like, oh, the scientific blah blah blah. No, this is for the purposes of eating particular meats.
Well, yeah, obviously a muskrat is not a fish.
When you shouldn't be eating.
The church's argument is that it spends most of its life in the water.
Yeah, so it's not a scientific declaration. It's more or less a like.
So the church determines.
Yeah, the church determines based off like, what is it?
I mean, they can make anything a penitential meat.
Yeah, penitential meat.
But generally, flesh meat is the part that's not penitential. Flesh meat, land animals.
So yeah, it's meat, but it's considered a fish liturgically.
Oh, whale's a mammal, but yeah,
that's the explanation.
I've never seen a thing about whale. Maybe with Eskimos, they might tell them. Inuits. Maybe they would know. Seal.
People of the North. What other names could we say?
If that's part of your regular diet, would it be much of a penance? We may not have a lot of people surround seal blubber.
Muskrat.
I've eaten two kinds of whale, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Finback and minke. There are only 3 countries in the world you can eat them legally. Iceland, Norway, and Japan.
Really? Is that when you went to Japan?
I didn't have it in Japan. Iceland, I had finback and minke, and then I had minke again last summer in Norway.
Oh my gosh! We have a very exotic priest that goes out to different parts of the world.
Well, I just like to see different places.
Especially
with old architecture. Especially with old architecture.
He's trying to he tries to evangelize those areas.
I don't. I'm pretty quiet.
Well,
I celebrate mass.
You had people at a bar come up to you who were not at all like religious, and they were like, "Talk to me about your religion," and then you did that.
Well, they didn't ask about that. They asked me what I did.
Yeah,
but and then that clearly led into it.
Yeah, but that's Yeah, but that's evangelizing still.
I don't think they had ever talked about Catholicism ever in their life, before that.
Yeah. And here they had a priest in their bar.
Trying to find a picture of that whale because I'm sure people would love to see.
There
There it is. Let me see if I can. Where's the camera? There's some. See, it's nice and dark meat. That's whale.
That's whale.
It's delicious. It is like steak.
Yeah. So, like, what are your opinions on fish tasting better than meat and arguably not being penitential?
Oh yeah, that's. Well, if you
had to crunch it.
If you think I can't not,
I can't not crunch it.
I'm saving space in your garbage.
I appreciate it.
Because see, the key is you crunch it and then you close the cap again.
Yeah, so the air comes out.
So it doesn't come out. So,
well, I know, but so the air doesn't go back.
The point is, what the church says is penitential. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. It's penitential. I mean, when it comes to following church law,
right?
That's all that matters. Now, it's good though to do things that are more penitential, like maybe eat a kind of fish you don't like. I don't know, orange roughy or something. I don't know. Like I like salmon a lot, so maybe it'd be better not. If it's not wrong to eat the salmon.
So yeah, I like salmon, but like I actually prefer. I really do prefer chicken and beef.
I would too. I would,
but like we do on Fridays meatless, so it's either going to be noodles or it's going to be fish. Like those are the options, and sometimes pizza that's like veggies, right?
Like cheese, lots of cheese.
I don't like the cheese. My wife likes cheese, and I think that's weird to pay for a pizza that it's just basically like cheese on top of bread. So I know that's essentially what pizza just is anyway, but pizza's amazing. Pizza brings cultures together. It's an evangelizing type of thing.
Okay. Everything's evangelizing. No.
Well, it can be.
Yeah, I mean the main thing is it is better to. I mean, it's preferable, not eating a lobster, every Friday.
You don't eat. Yeah, that would.
I mean, if you live in Maine, well, I wouldn't say it's not cheap there either, though. So, I visited that family that was in New Hampshire like last October. It wasn't a lot cheaper. It should have been cheaper. We're in Portland.
It's not $5 anymore, but yes, I actually do. My wife, we will get that as a last resort if Fridays become too intense.
I tried to get that last night. You just take the pepperonis off.
No, it doesn't. It brings relationships better together. I
tried to get that because I had to do confessions and mass somewhere a half an hour away, and it was snowing. I was like, oh. But I knew I had to get something in my stomach because otherwise I would feel dizzier.
So you had cheese pizza?
No, I ended up getting that. What is it? It's it has almost sugar on it. Something. It's Italian cheese bread from Little Caesars.
Oh yeah.
There was 20 people packed into this. Little Caesars gets a huge amount of people in the East Point area, and the more urban the area.
The recent times.
They didn't have any hot and ready's ready.
Yeah, because you have to order mobile. You have to order mobile.
Oh,
get it on your app.
Because I had to get something I could eat on the way. Well, don't eat in your car, but I had to get something I could eat on the way. Before I had confessions. Sometimes you don't have time. You need something with protein quickly and.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's So yeah, the one by us, it's always packed, but it's always packed because of people like me that order on the app.
So when you order on the app, do you use those things that have a code and it opens up?
It can.
I've seen those things.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get.
If I'm gonna get pizza that you order, it's gonna be Jets. It's gonna be
Jets' ranch is the best.
Cloverleaf or Hungry Howie's. Sometimes they don't have as much sauce, but I'm talking about. Little Caesars is Little Caesars is the desperate. I need to get something right now.
Well, right, but I still think Little Caesars is really good.
But their deep dish is very good.
Yeah, their deep dish is awesome. But the Jets,
we gotta end.
I know, but Jets, we're talking about pizza now. So Jets, Jets' ranch is the best ranch in the world. I will fight anybody. I will put on boxing gloves and I will fight anybody about that point.
Well, the Little Caesars on Flocks and 10 Miles, when I was at, which nobody knows what that is. It's in East Point, and oh man, that is just insane. The amount of people, that are in there. Happy's Pizza is pretty good. The one that has the guy who looks high, like the. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, supposedly, too.
Yeah.
The Happy's, that's why he's happy, or I don't know.
Worst pizza I've eaten was Happy's.
It was okay when I got it once. But
once. Yeah, we used to.
We have Marco's up here, too. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same. It's the one that has the weird shape. It's like an M-shaped pizza, I think.
Yeah. But so we will take, because we got to finish this. If you have a question that is suitable and will not be a thesis, go ahead and start writing. Because we got to get off. We've been on for an hour and 40 minutes. So unless you do a super chat.
What the heck does that mean again?
A super chat. So like if they gave money and
I've heard this terminology.
Yeah, and that money.
What is the super chat?
Can you do a Bernie impression for a super chat?
If we're gonna have a super chat, we give $25 at least. Yeah. No. Will you denounce the onesies? I mean, it's just the fact that he said that to RFK was hilarious. I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about.
And I mean, I only know about it because I can't listen to the news because of Exodus 90. So when you brought it up, it was really funny. Oh yeah, what are your brief thoughts on blessing cars or other things that will eventually be sold?
You can bless them. You're not blessing it as a religious object, so you don't have to bury it or burn it.
Yeah.
Like a religious. You're not. When you bless your food doesn't become a religious object. It's not an object for devotion. So it's the same kind of thing when you're blessing a house or a car. But if you're blessing a rosary, the very fact that you're using it for prayer, even if it wasn't blessed, is already kind of sets it aside. So that's the distinction. It's not an object used for religious devotion.
All right. So we only have one. Really, we only have one question.
So you have super chat people?
No one's actually done super chat.
What do? They pay at that moment?
Yep, they pay at that moment, and then it's like, boom, we gotta pay attention to it.
And then it's like witchcraft, and you receive money in your pocket. Okay.
No, I receive money, and then I'd probably donate it because I'd feel really bad not donating it because you were here, and it happened because so I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna donate it, but that's so. I saw a priest bless a police officer's gun once, plus 10 holy damage. Swoosh.
Makes sense.
That's what happens. It plus 10 holy damage.
I mean, it's going to be something he might have to use, and also that it doesn't go off accidentally. Or
that's a good question. Can you water plants with holy water?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't overdo it. I'd sprinkle some. It depends on what kind of plant it is and how often you're doing it. Because I wouldn't I don't know. I wouldn't want it to become something where you're just
profane.
Yeah, where you're using it too much for something like that. I think it's more of an idea of sprinkling. Like if it's a cactus, if it's a cactus, yeah. I mean, you have to do that once a year,
Right. Can you drink holy water?
Absolutely. I just don't know. Same thing. I don't think I would say just have bottles of holy water all the time that you're only drinking holy water. I think that's kind of an abuse of it, maybe.
Well, because
the better idea would be put some holy water in holy water or in water and then drink that. Like moms do when you're growing up. Their mom would put holy water when she's cooking, in her food.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or maybe exercise salt,
Adds flavor.
But I wouldn't use it as the only source of salt, because it just seems disrespectful.
Exactly. So cool. He said I agree. Cool.
I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, unless the person's possessed, maybe like maybe it's better to do that, unless they can't keep anything down because of that.
Would that give exorcised plants?
You mean like because the plant is growing through exercise salt?
Yeah.
Well, if you salt it too much, it's going to kill it anyway. But no, it wouldn't become like an exercise plant that I can think of. I guess it would take up the nutrients, and I don't know. It's not like blessed items don't become like substantially. It's not the Eucharist. It doesn't become substantially a holy item in the sense that the Eucharist is substantially Jesus Christ.
Right. Here's a good question. Can you get your house blessed?
What?
Can you get your house blessed?
Yeah. I mean, bless a lot of houses.
Yeah, he blessed the house that we're in right now. Like he blessed it. He's
more
blessed
than
it
more than once. Yeah, more than once.
So if
especially if there's something disturbing that happened there, or some major sin that happened there.
We had a pagan living in the house. I don't know if I've told you guys, but
for a while.
So we what do you
I remember I told you, I said, just remember when I bless the house, it's probably only going to really be temporary, depending on as long as nothing else is done.
Well, yeah, nothing was done.
Yeah,
nothing was done. So, dose your kids with holy water. Dose your kids with holy water. Father, I'm looking for a spiritual director. Should I go to my diocese for one?
I don't know how that works. I don't know, like if some dioceses might have a list.
So you're saying,
but more likely, the only lists I've seen are ones that they give out to priests if they're looking for one, which makes sense because priests must have a spiritual director. It's possible your diocese might have a list of them because there's some people that get certified. Even if they're not a priest, but I'd say if somebody's a priest, they should have a priest. With some rare exceptions, depending on the holiness of the non-priest. But yeah, I mean, the best thing is probably to talk. The easiest thing would be to talk to your pastor or the priest at your parish, see if they know somebody, or if they themselves. I don't know how many dioceses would actually have a list, but they could.
I mean, in the most general sense, like your priest should probably be someone you ask spiritual questions to.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean they should be your spiritual director.
Right. I absolutely.
Some priests may not have time for it, or they may not be comfortable with it because, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing it the whole time I'm a priest, but I mean, I don't know if one thing that helps too is, although they're not going to have a list. A really good website in general related to things like that is spiritualdirection.com. That's Dan Burke. It's a very good website. It's possible he might have something on there that might have people who are certified or priests. I don't know. I don't think many priests would be willing to put themselves online to say they're available for that. But
does the traditional Polish food Easter blessing apply to the container the food is in?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless the priest intends to bless the container. Because generally when we bless something, that's why even if it's like in a plastic bag, even if you're sprinkling the bag with the water, you're intending to bless the object, not the bag.
Every time between renters, have the house blessed.
It's a good idea.
When this is Carmel, when does the Holy Spirit take over one in the Catholic faith? Is it when the bishop lays hands on the head, or I mean, really, baptism?
Oh, baptism
is when that happens, and then you grow up with it as directed through your parents, and then you take responsibility with it at confirmation, right?
Well, I mean, you receive an increase of the graces of God every time you receive the Holy Eucharist, and
right,
because the Trinity dwells in you, and of course you receive the fullness of the Holy Spirit at the sacrament of confirmation. And that
Right.
always involves a bishop, you know,
This-
or a priest.
There's not like
a priest if a priest is delegated.
There's not like a possession.
I wish. No.
I wish.
It'd be easier.
It's not like a possession.
just
So
took us
just
over.
and I'm only basing that off the fact that you say take over one, because that's it's like
I would. Yeah, it would be
that's
easier.
a fairly
if you did.
that sounds like very possessive in the sense of like
I
possession
think
like a
it's just,
demon.
I
But
think it's just
I just
the way it was worded.
yeah, I just think it's the way it was
I don't
worded
think that's
too.
what
I
it's
think
about.
our first answer, or what you said is
Yeah.
obviously correct. This came up at Lectio. Can you bring any candle for the candle mass blessing, or does it have to be something special?
Well, no, I'm only doing.
She's literally upstairs, so this
Might have heard her laugh. I only did that because I know who wrote it. Yeah, I mean, you could bring any candle. I mean, you'll see some tomorrow. Yeah, some people were, had some candles that were donated, and it was a donation for the parish, and some of them were scented candles. You know, what I mean, I mean, it's nice to have one that's not like that, but it's definitely okay if it's going to be a candle that you're going to light in the house, especially if it's for prayer. But even if it's not for prayer, it can remind you that it's blessed. And so it's nothing wrong with that.
So I can bring a potato scented candle.
Does that exist?
Yes.
Why?
Ask Bed Bath & Beyond.
It's gross.
Yes.
I don't know if it's gross. It's just why. Unless it's mashed potato.
Hello, K37. I see you're still going with the Luce memes.
Bob Evans scented mashed potato.
How much asceticism should be practiced?
Oh, that's what you need a spiritual director for.
So I do cover a video.
Depends on the person.
It does, but I do cover a video where there's
camera. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Where we cover roughly how many ember days, fast days, feast days that were liturgically celebrated, and you practiced them. You had a leisure, you took days off. It wasn't just the 10 days of holy obligation that we have now. There was an emphasis that you had, you had so many aspects of your life that were connected to those days, because it literally covered 160 days of the year. So you have a lot of let's just say, I related it to in marketing, in politics, as touching. You send an email out 5 times to this person.
What is that?
I don't know.
It's a mystery. It's going in the bottle.
Okay.
It has hair on it, and it was stuck to my shoe.
All right. I mean, the cats sometimes throw up, so
no, that wasn't that. Thankfully.
Okay. So how we live today compared to what we lost in the 60s is very different. And the 60s, you could use that as a template. I'm not saying this as your spiritual director or something, but as a way of building up, right? If you feel you want to add something in your year, you could add ember days. And so that happens 4 times a year.
You're welcome. I was just answering something on there.
Yeah. That happens 4 times a year, 3 days at a time. So Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And so that way you're not throwing all 100 and whatever days. I think it's 160-ish days.
That's a good idea. Have birthday candles blessed for next year.
So
that's a really good idea.
We're going way off that. We're answering 2 things, but that's fine. I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying you should do the 160, but just something if you feel you need more and you don't have spiritual direction. I know
the cats sometimes throw up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do. I mean, they have hairballs.
Yeah, Wednesday and Friday are very traditional days of fast.
Yeah, for Exodus 90, which, I mean, you could do a program like Exodus 92, which we're in. It's only 2 weeks in. You could join now. And it's it's about, practicing aestheticism.
Yeah, Candlemas happening on the weekend this year in the ordinary form is awesome. So see a lot of candles being blessed like we did, you know.
So I'm just gonna say this because I think it's pertinent. Uh, our Archbishop is in a position of retirement. He already put his letter of resignation
But
in.
he's still an active bishop. So
He absolutely is, but but I think there's a lot of balancing that would go with that. I'm not speaking directly for
well,
Father
you can
Eric.
ask. I mean, like, and we do have to ask
Yeah,
from the Vatican what it says, but I'll tell you, plenty of priests are allowed to in the archdiocese. So,
yeah,
like, he's not restrictive about it. You know, like when anybody needs the help.
yeah. Like we have before the motu proprio, we had
And any of the parishes that had been doing it before are still doing it,
like before
unless they chose not to for some other reason.
before before the motu proprio, we had the high, like one of the, if not the highest density of TLMs.
Probably still do.
Yeah, in the world.
Like I said, I don't know many that have been restricted.
I mean, Saint Cyril Methodius doesn't do it anymore.
Not much, yeah, but that was not because the diocese said they couldn't.
I was told that. Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay. We'll
I don't
go
think
into
it was
the
possible to do it anymore because the amount of didn't have as much help.
Oh.
I think it was more because of that. But yeah, I don't know. But most guys, a lot of guys don't ask to start at a parish if had not been doing it because I know the diocese. I assume the diocese would prefer not to be having more attention brought to it
Hey, thank you.
because a lot of places that's happened, it's been squashed. You know, or if people know too much outside of the diocese.
Yeah. No, I know. This kind of talk needs to happen so much more. As you can see, people have questions. Love you both. Thank you, OL. Yeah, we started off talking about silly things like vampires and stuff.
Hey, don't discount those things.
Hey, silly things in the sense of like I brought up a Disney Channel show, okay, but like you brought up a book that has.
Well, these are classics.
Yeah, they're American classics.
They're not
right?
dumb,
right?
No, actually,
they're not.
They're not American.
Okay, sorry, I pulled an American stereotype.
Both British. Let me think.
I pulled an American stereotype. It's in English, so it must be American.
It's in American.
America.
Oh, Bram Stoker is Irish.
Oh, Irish. All right.
I think Mary Shelley was British.
So
English. I'm sorry. She's English.
What
British.
does receiving?
Yep.
So, what does receiving permission to use an Eastern rite look like, Father? So, if you wanted to become by ritual, what would you?
I'm gonna say end that quickly. By ritual. Don't just float the word by. No.
End that.
Yeah, like but like it'd be by ritual. I know a few priests that are. I mean, it's basically because the help is needed by an Eastern Rite Catholic parish. That's the whole reason why you do it. I mean, I'm not going to just ask to do it. Like you definitely don't. You're definitely not going to ask to do it just because you feel like doing it.
Yeah, there has to be a purpose,
in a Latin Rite parish because that would not be the right idea.
Say we had a lot of Chaldeans that came.
We have tons of Chaldeans. But let's say they didn't have enough priests or something. Then you could see like some Latin Rite priests maybe being trained to be by ritual.
Oh, okay. I don't know the process for that. So,
or Armenian Catholic, I don't think they have a huge amount. So it's possible they might get some Latin Rite guys that would be by ritual with Armenian.
And then we got Ukrainian.
That was a little bigger, I think. I don't know.
In the local area?
Greek Catholic is always the biggest, usually.
Well, over here, it's very much, it's Chaldean. Chaldean.
Well, no, Chaldean. No, I mean, but most places.
Oh, most places. Yeah, most people only think of Eastern rites as basically Byzantine. And it's really funny.
The Chaldean rites are so... Well, they're also probably the most closest to the Latin rites. I mean, they tend to know each other a lot. Because a lot of the Chaldeans go to the Latin Rite churches too, and vice versa for confession. And
So I pray for you, MP, and your parish of TLM, very righteous. Well, so like we don't do TLM at the parish.
Yeah, we don't do that.
But it is something.
One reason why I don't even bother with it is because they have 2 parishes that are like extremely well known for it.
Yeah, within close. 10 minutes. Yeah, within like 10 minutes of us.
And one of them, that's all they do.
Yeah.
But we do Ad Orientem, and a lot of Latin. Well, there's other things you can do TLM though.
So here's like really like I love this. Honestly, God has spoiled the AOD with how much grace we have flowing into it. Considering the Solanus KC Center has 8 to 9 hours a day.
That's where I go to confession.
This is for confession
all the time.
So great, like confession 6 days a week. That is
it's funny at the Solanus KC Center. If they get really busy sometimes. Like I've been in a hurry. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And then like I've had the priest say, "Can you help with the confessions?"
Oh my gosh!
And he's like, "Oh, don't worry. Like, how much time do you have?" I was like, probably 20 minutes. He's like, "That's enough." Enough. And he's like, "I'll hear your confession like right before you leave." And the interesting there is you keep track on a clicker, like a mechanical clicker, because the Vatican wants to know the number of confessions.
I'm answering his question. Yes, the answer is.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What time is it there? Father's tired. We appreciate you taking time to talk to us. It is 10 p.m.
It's probably because I have a cold.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a cold, and
a little better now though.
Yeah,
it'll probably be bad in the morning again.
Well, it always is. It's like it gets worse, and then you wake up with it, and then you have to fight it, and then it gets better. So, okay. This is when I go in. That clicking sound is for when I go in. That makes sense. When he's talking to Solanus KC Center.
I've never actually heard the clicking noise, but yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I do it. If I would do it, I'd do it when I did it there. I'd do it after the absolution.
So, all right. I think that's it. We're at like 2 hours. So I think
that's long.
Yeah, but like I thought it was fun.
It didn't feel long.
It didn't feel long at all. Like, yeah, we had a very very active chat. If you guys,
it does look like we're like in 2.
Yeah, because of the
it looks like a split. Yeah, let's see or not. Whack.
Yeah. So like
Solanus KC Center is one of the Jubilee locations.
Yeah. So in our,
and if you want to see, I put some painstaking effort into making a helpful.
If you would have asked me to do that, I would have
one sheet thing.
So he asks me. He says, "All right, can you send me like posters that other places have made?" And
I didn't like their posters.
No, I didn't like them either. But like,
because I don't like the ugly art that the Vatican gives, so that's why I just put the papal coat of arms. Just put like the tiara with the keys, right
there.
Where? What?
Behind the screen. They can't see it, but it's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the flag. Like I didn't take it down.
Yeah, and like if I had to cram it, I did order a foam core board to put up in the vestibule of it, too. Kind of like our communion in the hand around the tongue thing.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we should probably do that again.
Yeah, we do. We should make it cleaner looking.
Yeah, and
without the shadows.
Yeah, because that was our biggest problem. It was just us two, and so we didn't have additional lighting. And
now you have a production crew.
I don't have a production crew, but like, yeah, it would be nice to do that. But let's see, what is it? Do you want to do another Q&A soon?
I don't know. What do you mean by soon?
I don't know. Within the quarter.
I might be dead in the next quarter.
I don't know.
I just been joking with some people that recently. I'm like, it's serious. So I could.
Well, you could. I could die tomorrow.
That doesn't mean I can't plan something.
Right. But like, just because like, I think if we have more, because like the biggest problem I think that a lot of you'll have like priests.
As long as you feed me before.
No, that's fine. and hopefully we'll get super chats. All right, that's just me begging for money. I'm sorry, but the in all seriousness,
you need to learn how to to broil.
To broil, yeah, I do need
the onion rings.
In all seriousness, if in all seriousness, it would help if there were something to go towards making getting light
to it as a third option.
But it is something that I think you'd be interested in to answer questions from people like now, as opposed to, because like for a lot of people, you know,
If I don't know the answer to something, I'll tell you I don't know the answer.
yeah, or like there is a moment, like there's some questions that were asked that I did not
Is
put up.
Discord that thing you have to play video games and you talk to people or something?
No, this is Discord. This is Discord. This is for the meme channel that we have.
But wasn't it based off of video games or something?
You would play video games while on Discord.
So you just talk to people.
Yeah, you could talk, like this is a channel.
Right.
Sorry, I'm explaining him Discord.
I just don't know or care to know a lot of these social things. I just know the basics.
But this is something that you grew
up with.
Like in your 20s.
This didn't exist when I was in my 20s.
I'm almost positive in your late 20s.
I didn't have a fast computer.
Oh, okay. Well, that might
time.
be. But like,
well, my late 20s, I was in the seminary.
But there's, you all should join Catholic Forum on Discord. I'm not on Catholic Forum. There's a few that I'm part of, like Catholic Diocese.
Play Skyrim.
Play Skyrim.
The only time I played that game was here.
Skyrim. By
Hold on, like a few times a year at your house.
Yeah, you'll be like, but the problem is our PS4 died, so we need.
There's a PS4. Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy.
That's what you were playing. On purpose. That's what you were playing on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't buy them on purpose because it would be a distraction.
So,
for me.
But yeah, so like, what I'm getting at is, we can do another Q&A.
Yeah. But
there is a it would be helpful to have some monetary backing to do the on the tongue verse in the hand video, polish it up, because
what does that mean? You mean like a higher editing thing, or
so it would be like, I don't have a light to fixate over. I don't have a light. And then I also
something. And then we gave me something where it's that circle light thing.
Oh, okay. Well, if you have a light, like that's fine.
They gave it to me when I started live streaming the masses.
But we also,
I think we tried that though, and it didn't work. I remember trying that.
I mean, we could try it
tomorrow. I think it's because it's a circle, so it doesn't work as well.
I mean, we could try it tomorrow for a second. If
well, I'm not going to film it tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. And not the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying test
it. It's in the closet in the vestries.
And then the other thing is buying the hosts, the unconsecrated hosts. That's not a big deal. Okay, all right, never mind. I mean, if you want to donate money, that'd be nice too.
Like
but
$3 worth, you know.
Let's see. And a super chat. Okay, yeah. We're just
I don't go to bed at exactly this time. And just you start to get.
No, I know. Catholic Forum has many interesting characters on it, including a catechist who owns the server, improves Catholic from a Jewish perspective. He gives a 2-hour lecture. Oh, that's nice. All right, cool. So thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. So what is the? Sorry. You can. I forgot this.
Your wife said your wife is a pretty good redneck engineer.
I should read. Yeah, you should.
Something.
Oh my gosh, I can't find this. I had it. What was it? Tanzri? Oh my gosh.
Trying to yawn off screen.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm totally screwing this up.
It's not like a signal. I'm just keep thinking about it, so I'm yawning.
Okay.
I can delete all that Grok stuff reminding me about certain things about character names and stuff in those books.
So I'm just gonna come in here just because I understand you're making a historical argument. That's the wrong argument to make when you're doing the on the hands and the tongue. The church has the authority to say what is appropriate, and right now there is an indult, which means you have to get permission to receive on the hand for a country, and there is a right, which means you have the right. Nothing should bar you from receiving on the tongue. There is clearly a preference from the church's standpoint, and that comes through tradition and understanding, like, the teaching of particles, and just to kind of like, I understand like where you're coming from, so I don't want to like, I'm not trying to make you.
So it's actually a permission, which could always be rescinded,
right? And when
some countries don't even have the permission to receive in the hand.
And right, and so like you have to receive on the tongue, and just to emphasize that understanding, the reason why like the priests clean the sacred vessels afterwards is precisely the same reason why receiving on the tongue is the rite, because it reduces the particles that would fall. And so the cleaning is to make sure that there are no particles left. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Purification.
To purify the vessels and to make sure that what is holy is treated respectfully. So just to clarify that, because like I understand a lot of people do come at it from a historical perspective,
but you are permitted to receive in the hand.
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't receive in the hand.
Permission, but it's a permission.
Yeah. So that's. You know you have rights. Yeah. So okay. I can't remember it. It's bugging me.
Wait, what?
The touch grass in Latin.
It's Tandre Grauman, I think.
Tandre Grauman, everyone. Have a good weekend and enjoy Sunday.
God bless. May God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.